Welcome to today's partner education event, the second part of a special three-part community experience series for our HBCU partners. If you missed the first part where we talked with Dr. Levon Esters about the scholarship of HBCU peer mentorship, you can watch the recording in our Partner Knowledge Center. We have a really good conversation planned for today with NACE Mentor of the Year winner, Philip Wilkerson. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm so excited to chat with all of you today. A
Thank
few
you.
Oh yeah, a
I'm
few
sorry.
additional notes just as we get started. This webinar is being recorded, and we'll send you the recording and some follow-up educational resources after the event. You can also always find the recordings of all of our partner education webinars, whether it's this one, ones in the past, things coming up down the line. You can always head to our Partner Knowledge Center, help.mentorcollective.org, to find those recordings. On the screen, you'll see a few tips to help ensure a smooth virtual experience with us today. I would recommend that you adjust your video layout to speaker view, as that allows you to see both the slide deck and the presenter faces. We have a conversation planned today, so it's more of an interview style presentation, but we still have some thematics up on the screen to help guide you. But so you can kind of bop back and forth between the screen and our faces and feel like you can join the conversation. You can adjust your video settings as you see fit to do that. We'd also love to know where everyone is joining from. So if you wanted to join or to share your name and your institution in the chat, that would be amazing. I know we have folks from all over today, so go ahead and share that in the chat if you feel comfortable doing that. And you can also share your LinkedIn if you'd like to network or connect outside of this venue. My name is Jennifer Caius, and I am Mentor Collective's Customer Education Manager. I create customer education opportunities that support strong mentorship initiatives at your institutions. And I'll be hosting today's session, and I will introduce our fantastic guest speaker, Philip, in just a sec. I'm also joined by Mentor Collective's Jasmine Ostegi, who will support us technically today and help with all the back end. So if you have a question, she'll elevate that for you. So we love emojis, right? So please use the chat feature to ask your questions, and please make this as interactive as possible. Use those emojis. After every section in our conversation, we'll open up the floor for a Q&A if you want to come off me and ask something live. But feel free to also react however you're feeling, celebrate, thumbs up, you love it, you're celebrating, whatever you're feeling. Share that with us so that we can keep things keep things fun as we go through the convo today. All right, so here we go. We are so grateful, Philip, to have you here with us today. Jasmine is going to drop his LinkedIn and podcast in the chat, and we really invite everyone here to connect with him in both of those platforms as well. Philip is currently an employer engagement consultant at George Mason University Career Services. In this role, he serves as a liaison between employers and the GMU community to ensure career opportunities are available for everyone, for students, faculty, staff, alumni. Philip was also nominated as 2024 as National Association of Colleges and Employers. You might know them as NACE, Mentor of the Year, for supporting the professional growth and development of other higher education professionals throughout the country. He's won several notable awards for his mentorship work, including the 40 Under 40 list for GMU Black alumni and the Pillar Award, which is a award for a GMU staff member who supports Black students. He's also the faculty advisor for the Iota Alpha chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity and GMU's NAACP chapter. Philip also hosts an absolutely fantastic podcast called Positive Filter, which focuses on well-being. And I'm so excited to have him here today to talk more about the value of alumni mentorship for students, especially students in our HBCU community. So Philip, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. Really appreciate it. I love connecting with you and all the folks at the Mentorship Collective. So I'm really excited for this conversation.
Awesome. So let's get started with kicking us off. Tell us a little bit more about your own personal and professional journey with HBCUs, with mentorship. Tell us more about your story.
All right, so I'll do the condensed version. I know I told her to help me stay in line, but so my name is Philip Wilkerson. I'm the son of Philip Linwood Wilkerson Jr. and Carol Wilkerson. And the reason I give that context is my dad and my mom both served in the military, and so we grew up all over the place, moving around a lot. But fortunately for me, the end of my parents' career was here in Northern Virginia, where I went to Mount Vernon High School. Ran track 4 years, a varsity letter track. And it was because of that track that I got a scholarship to Bowie State um, in 2003. My mind was not set on going to Bowie State because I always wanted to go to James Madison, because over the 8th grade, I did a camp called the African American Male Academy. And so after 2 years, I transferred to James Madison. So I can't claim that I'm an HBCU alum, but I did have 2 years experience at Bowie. I still have a lot of friends there. I still pop up on my frat will know, pop up on the yard when I can because they still show me love. So that's my affinity to HBCUs. But I did graduate from James Madison University in 2008, got introduced to education for my first job at a school with children with special needs. Found out that, it's a tough job, but I also loved education. Got my master's at George Mason, graduated with that in 2012. While I was in that master's program, we had to do an internship. And fortunate for me, I did my internship here at George Mason Career Services. And that's when the bug of staying in higher ed hit. Worked around multiple different institutions in higher ed, but was very fortunate to come back to George Mason in 2017, where I've been ever since. So I just wanted to give you a condensed story and chronological story of, my background growing up all over, but being really embedded in the Northern Virginia community since 8th grade and on, and just being, this is my roots. My roots is really Northern Virginia.
Can you tell us more about your journey with mentorship? I know mentorship is a huge part of your identity, about the work
Yeah,
that
I think it goes without saying, I never thought of it as mentors, like I could even call my dad a mentor. He's still around. I think that I've always gravitated to people that were, you know, older than me and listen. I think that's just kind of what the key essential thing of mentors is, right? My grandfather's a mentor. But I think that in regards to formalized, as I told you earlier, I was a track athlete. My coach, that actual in that space, he was a mentor. I had really great teachers. One of my high school teachers in the 10th grade had an all black male leadership class at Mount Vernon, Mark Holbrook. I was in that 10th grade class. That's where I met all my best friends from Mount Vernon. He's a mentor. And so as I go back and look at it, I could say in my mind, I've had mentors throughout my entire life. Maybe I just didn't have that formalized title. But then in regards to, formalized mentors, I would say, some earlier people that were supervisors of me, like my supervisor for my graduate program, because they were kind of like, I say forced to, but it was through that, assignment of being a guide to me during my internship, Ken Garant. He was a formal mentor, earlier supervisors, and then joining NACE and all these professional associations. I think that's when I got the more formalized mentorship alignment, like where you sign up on a form and they say like, hey, what do you want to get out of your career? And then have that connection. So I would just say throughout my life, I've had mentors, educators, teachers, people that supported me throughout my journey. And then more so in my profession is where I got to be connected with the, formal mentorship match programs.
I'd love for you to dive more into that work that you've done in your professional career as a mentor. So the work you've done with NACE and the mentorship that you've provided to other folks and mentorship opportunities. So not just you being a mentor, but creating spaces for other folks to grow and other folks to mentor, making it explode, really, mentorship explode. I'd love for you to talk more about that.
Yeah, I think it's both. And, I think I can share maybe my, more dived into the formalized part where I've created that space and then organically. So in the formalized space, when I got back to Mason in 2017, I started to, this is where I had like the refresh of my career, really started working at a career center. And so when I started going to these big, large associations like Eastern ACE, which is the regional level of career development, and NACE, it could be very overwhelming. And so those those formalized opportunities, they would do like forums like, find a mentor. And I would always volunteer, like I go to like these large conferences, and I'm an extrovert, so I'm not really intimidated, but more so like, how do I get in where I fit in? Like, how do I navigate this space? How do I get involved in these associations? And so when I saw these like formalized mentorship match, I would just sign up on my end, and found a lot of benefit over the years that now I would sign up again, but I would be on the other side and say, I'm open now that I've been really a part of these associations to be on the other end, to be the mentor. And so it's almost like just give to what I had. So I can shout out, like I was connected with Samara Reynolds through NACE. She was my, mentor. And coincidentally, she was mentor of the year, and she's more senior than me, in the career space. She's an actual director of a career center. So I've always found that like I gravitated to people that were more senior to me just to learn from them. And, with this, with deference and respect, understanding their journey, and just, saying, hey, you're at a place that I want to be, I want to aspire to. I'm open to doing it. And then I always find it, surprising when people think that I'm in a senior space. I'm like, I guess I'll be your mentor in that space. Now, in regards to the touch points for students, I think it actually comes through the support of those external organizations that you listed earlier, Alpha Phi Alpha and NAACP. So when I joined Mason in 2017, ironically, I had just crossed into Alpha. For those that don't know, you can join a historically Black fraternity as an alumni. So I joined this local chapter here in Alexandria in 2017. And then I started working at Mason in 2017 at December. So like literally right after I crossed, I started working at George Mason. And then I just started meeting people, professors, knowing that there's other like faculty and staff that are frat, that are on campus. And in 2019 summer, right before the pandemic started, I get an email that it was like one after the other. I got this grand announcement that a fraternity brother that was more senior than me at Mason had left Mason over that summer, and he literally was the advisor for both of those organizations. Immediately after, I got a text from one of the college brothers saying, Phil, can you be our advisor for this chapter? And I said, what I gotta do? And I was like, just sign stuff. I said, all right, bet, I'll do that, right? So I became the advisor for frat in a very informal way here at George Mason, right? Because I was like, I can't, because if they don't have a faculty advisor, then they cannot be a registered student org, and they don't get funding, and they close. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. It's easy. Just throw my name on stuff. Make sure you don't do nothing bad on campus. I got you. The NAACP was more formal. I got a formal email from two student leaders, Shelby Adams and Dominique Dowens. And it was like, Mr. Wilkerson, I heard that you help Black students. You don't know who we are. We're the incoming president and vice president of the NAACP. We would love to meet with you because if we do not have this advisor, we will be disbanded. This was over the summer because they needed that advisor before the fall semester, right? So I was like, I don't know nothing about it. How to get they said the director of our multicultural center said that you help students. So they referred me. I was like, people just throwing my name around campus, right? And so I said, okay, I don't know nothing about it. Ken, would you be open to meeting? I want to meet y'all and get to know y'all. And so we set up a meeting, and these two wonderful young ladies came fully dressed in suits, like very put together, had like their resumes, and said their goals for the year, and like it was like a personal pitch. I was like, wow, they must think I'm more important than I really am. We started talking, and I was like, oh, where did you go to school? To the young ladies. Dominique went to Richmond, and then the other young lady said, I went to South County High School, which is in the Northern Virginia area. I said, oh, word, you went to South County? I went to Mount Vernon. Do you know anyone from Mount Vernon? She said, yeah, I know the Wilkes family. Coincidentally, the person that she knew was one of my high school classmates. Older, and I was like, done deal, whatever, don't stop this pitch. This is, whatever. I'll do the same thing I'm doing for the frat. I'll just sign off and stuff. But then I realized in that space, I needed to know more about the NAACP. So I did my own. They actually led me to do research. I looked on the website. I became a card a card holder, a member formally of the NAACP because of them. And these two young ladies went on to do phenomenal things. President of the whole entire school, SGA, joined sororities, student leaders. One was the student of the year, graduate student of the year, just boom, boom, boom. And all I did was just give them a space to vent. I would say I'm learning as I go, but we would do bi-weekly meetings where they would just vent to me and ask me ideas. And I would just say from my lens, this is your organization, but I give them suggestions, not dictate. And they just took the ball and ran with it. And so that was the more formalized student opportunities to mentor. And then it just kind of snowballed from there, where I find that in this space of supporting the young chapter of Alphas here and the NAACP gives me a space to help Black students at this predominantly white institution. And so I would say for me, I gained it through that professional part for the associations, but this is my direct touch point to mentorship here at George Mason University.
Thank you so much, Philip. I'm hearing you say so many things that are particularly relevant for alumni mentorship. First off, I'm hearing you talk about the hidden curriculum, right? That sometimes we refer to for students, where there is no curriculum on this, right? It's finding these ways to network and have that cycle of I mentored you, and so now I'm being mentored, and now we're paying it forward, and it's going on and on. As well as how important these opportunities are for students, because giving those two young ladies that you're talking about the opportunity through their organization to show leadership allowed them to blossom in other ways, and that carries over into career, right? So incredibly important, and something I don't think often talked about in how we can support young people in making headway in those spaces. Also, a perfect transition for us to head into our next thematic, which is on mentorship and first generation students. So, speaking of hidden curriculum and opportunities to pay it forward and to network and build community, first generation students often face unique challenges related to these pressures. In your experience, tell us more about how mentorship and mentors can help first gen students feel a greater sense of belonging and support as they transition into higher education and then again into the alumni space.
Yeah, I love that you said the alumni space, because obviously that was 2009 and both young ladies graduating out. They're out there in the real world. And when I say that now, we're peers, right? I stayed in touch and I can, have a drink with them. They're adults, they're real people with, how do I navigate my first job problems now? And they still go to me for those things, right? Real world things. How do I navigate, talking to my supervisor? And so now it's transformed from me giving them guidance as student leaders to life advice, where I'm also still I'm not telling them anything let's say monumental. I'm just using my own life experiences and say, here's what I've learned from my life experiences. Do with this information, right? Navigate it as you will. And sometimes I always think the pressure's off. It's I'm also not giving you answers sometimes. I'm just saying this is what I did, and I wish I could have done this better. Now you have the opportunity to do it better, right? I had a negative experience in my workplace, and hopefully you can navigate the world of work better than I did. And so the transition part is just making sure I always say that once, we're attached, I say once you turn into an alum, we're peers. I've always offered that, let's stay in touch. I think obviously the frequency decreases, right? You're not seeing them all the time because they're not on campus, but they're still a part of your life, right? And just recently, I'm getting invited to weddings now and all those things. So it's it's transitioned to real, mentorship has morphed to different identities, right? Maybe it was student to educator, but now it's peer-to-peer, a young alum to an older alum, right? The mentorship part is still there. It's just the level, the other identities have shifted to who we are connected to each other. So that's kind of my thoughts on transitioning to alum. And I think the part where alum can help first generation is that you don't know what you don't know. And this gives you an opportunity to ask questions And I always say too, for those that are navigating the first gen experience is like, it's really hard. We call it the Mason shuffle here, where like they tell you go to one office, go to another office, go to another office. And like, I try to help students with that by being a great point guard. Like, honestly, too, when a student asks me a question that I don't know about, or a resource, or does this exist, then it makes me have to do some of the research. And now I have that in my tool belt. So even the hidden curriculum to them could, even as a faculty staff member, is hidden to me, right? Like there's so many resources here at Mason. I don't know everything too. And so I think for those out there, that if you do have someone that could be your go-to person for asking questions, don't be afraid, or don't think that asking questions are dumb. Because one, it's like that thing in class, right? Like you may be asking a question that a lot of people also want to know, they just don't want to ask. So you have that safe space to do it. And two, understand that like the people that you put on a pedestal are still people learning too. So these, like when you ask them questions, if they don't know the answer, they can say, oh, wow, I need to learn this too. This is going to make me step my game up. And I always tell that to people, like the people on the other side of being a mentor, is that I think being a mentor is a great learning opportunity, because then you're like, I didn't even knew people face that problem here on Mace. Like, I didn't know that certain students are worried about their, financial aid being, taken. I got to find out ways that students can get support financially to stay in school. Or I didn't know students may be food insecure or housing insecure. I might need to find resources to point guard them to the right places, right? And so the hidden curriculum is not just to the students, and to the first gen students. It's, the hidden curriculum is also to anyone that's the first person to go to the student that's navigating. Like they may have parents in college, but the university has shifted since their parents went to college, right? College has shifted.
Yeah.
The hidden curriculum is also the people like me that worked here, that I'm learning new things about the institution. So don't feel dumb if you don't understand certain things that you think is common knowledge, because what common is not common to everybody.
I love that. I love that you're talking about learning in that way, because I'm wondering if you could talk more about what opportunities for alumni mentorship might exist for folks that are listening on the call. Where can we get involved in alumni
Yes.
mentorship?
Time, talent, treasure, right? I don't think anyone's heard that. Maybe you nod your head if you heard, but time, talent, treasure, right? When you become an alum, you can give your time, your talent, and your treasure. And, like, I was like, man, Mason, stop asking me for money. I ain't giving you no more money. So stop
Yeah,
asking for my treasure, but I can give you my time and my talent. And so, that part is the part where alum, specifically young alum, can touch back, right? A lot of universities have like alumni engagement, or like advancement offices, or ways to plug in. And that's usually sometimes the best gatekeeper. So for us at George Mason, we do actually have a space for alum within our career center. And, in regards to like each college has like an engagement person, right? Where people say, hey, I'm an alum, I want to get engaged. I don't want to pay no money, but I want to still do it. And then that person at George Mason would point guard them to me or some other people, like, hey, this person wants to just give back. They want to come back and be a classroom presenter, right? Come back and, just come to the class and share their story. Or they want to just be on the listserv for panels or any other things that they can get back. Or they actually want to get involved and be started part of the alumni associations by various identities in colleges. One program that we've done to really encourage alum to give back, more so in that time and talent part, is that within our office, we host what we call Alumni Student Networking Mixer.
I
And
love
it's the
that.
second year that we did it. We did it last year in April. We're doing it again this year. And this is an opportunity that we just do an open call to alum and say, hey, we want you to come back and just talk to students. We're not asking for no money. We're actually going to pay and cover your parking. We're going to cover your, we have food and light apps and drinks and whatnot. And then we're going to invite all the students back, right? And we host this year is going to be in April 8th. And then what we do is we take away like it's almost like, if it was a career fair, they have their badge of their employer. We take away that, because we don't want students to see you as your employer, we just put your name, the year you graduated, and
Oh,
your
that's
your
fantastic.
major, right?
Yeah.
And then we do like speed round networking where we like have cards on the table that tell them like, here's some prompt questions. Like we give guidance. We're going to actually do a webinar ahead of it, say how to network, to give students like, what do I even say to these, people? And we do that. And then we just organically let them talk and build relationships. And so I don't know if other universities are doing it. I looked at NACE, once again, NACE. I asked on a discussion board, other universities doing things like this, and we kind of made it happen. Was it imitation's greatest form of flattery? So I'm pretty sure this is not the super unique idea. And then we're just building relationships. And so I think there is a lot of space. I would say if you're an alum that's looking to give back, the two touch points I would start with would be your various alumni associations or chapters, and then the relevant career center that is at that school. Just go to their career services website and say, hey, I'm an alum. I want to give back. Is there any opportunities to like help students learn about insert industry, all that, and understand like you're doing it with your time and talent. You don't like say go back to career service, say, hey, I'm a IT specialist. Can you pay me? Like, can I do a free workshop? Like I'll set up the Zoom and, you can share this with students about the best practices for IT. So, and I'm pretty sure a lot of career centers would probably take you up on that. So those are two opportunities where alum can really try to give back with their time and talent other than just their treasure.
Fantastic. There are so many things that I'm taking notes while you're saying this, and I'm pulling out there. Uh, that was absolutely fantastic. There were so many strategies to get involved and to build community, both for the individual contributor, so for the alumni, but also for the university, right? Because I don't know, on the call today, I'm not sure if all the folks have this at their institution, but I know that some of our partners that we work with could really benefit from some of these ideas that you're relaying, and having folks come in even as an incentive for your mentorship program, right? To have an invitation to this free webinar, like you said, on IT or on something that an alumni can bring value to this space. And
Yeah, expertise per se, like
right.
like, hey, I just want to share what's going on in this industry that I've observed, and
Yeah.
you know
And to give
and
it
then
multiple levels
share that with
of
the students. Uh,
yeah, exactly. Like career readiness and moving us forward in that way. It's fantastic. That is a perfect transition. I swear we didn't plan this, but that's a it's a perfect transition for the next thematic here, which is on career readiness and professional pathways. So let's talk more about that. So bridging the gap to professional opportunities. In your experience, how can students who have rarely engaged in mentoring before, so students who maybe are new to mentorship or are hesitant to get involved in mentorship, how can they learn the value about mentorship as it relates to career readiness?
I mean, I always say this every time I do my pitch about why you should reach out and mentor. I use this thing. I always say this. I hate to break it to you. While you're unique in your DNA, there's no other Philip Wilkerson III. There's too many people in this world for me to think that my pathway in life is completely unique. Somewhere out there in the world, someone has done something that I want to do in some similar fashion. And it could be like, okay, maybe I invent something that's very new, but I'm not the first inventor, right? I may want to be the first, I have a podcast and my podcast is unique to me, but I'm not the first person to start a podcast, right? And so I've said to people, like people are the greatest resource. Their experience is the greatest learning tool. So understand that that's where mentorship comes in. Like the things that you want to do, like a job or occupation or whatever, it has been done in some form or fashion. Maybe the combination hasn't been done. Like, I don't think you might be super unique, Jennifer, as someone that did figure skating uh, and
I saw,
hockey and all
yeah,
that together, but you ain't the first person to be a student athlete to transition into the world of work, right? Like, get what I'm saying? Like, maybe that's super things are super unique to your experience, but you're not the first student athlete to transition to the world of work, right? And so, what I would encourage people to do is, in a very simple way, and this is like, once again, I'm very practical, kind of think about what you want to do or what you want to do, like, what's the just next step? Like if you want to go to grad school, like I just want to go to, I've never heard about someone told me about grad school, and look for someone that's in that current space to ask questions. And I love that you use LinkedIn, right? What I do is use LinkedIn as your tool. Go to the university page or whatever on LinkedIn, go to the alumni tab, type in, the future aspiration, what you want to be, like UX design or whatever. Then you see the whole list of people that had an affiliation to the same university as you, and then craft a unique invitation saying, hi, my name is Philip. I see that you are working in this space. I'm just, I'm about to graduate or whatever, and I'm very curious to learn about your experience getting into that. One, you're not asking for a job. You're not coming off as desperate or thirsty or spammy. You're being very authentic and very genuine, and you're literally just going to ask questions like, I just want to learn. And worst case scenario, the person don't respond to your LinkedIn, they ghost you, you move on. The best case scenario is you get someone's time to have like a 15-minute Zoom call or whatever, and you ask questions that are like those informational interview questions. You're not asking, hey, get me a job. You're just asking like, oh, you graduated 2 years ahead of me. What was some things that you did in college? What should I learn? Like, is there any software or something that I should be aware of? Is that free? Can I learn? What's the free tools to learn? And then at the end of that, I always say there's two things. One, you can always say, I really appreciate your time. Is there anyone else that you think would be willing to talk to me? Network grows. Additionally, you can always say you bring value. Like I said, I learned a lot from mentees. A young person be like, is there anything I can do to help you? There's been multiple times where I'm like, I don't know how to make graphics. Do you know how to make this graphic real quick on social media? And they, and I send them a link and they help me, right? And so they brought their value, they brought their expertise in their youth. And so I feel like that's a great way, because in regards to that career readiness, ask those questions. Like then you can use it to pivot and understand what things you need, like to do, what do I need to put on my LinkedIn? What do I need to do to set a path? The examples that those other people have set the blueprint, right? Like when I wanted to learn how to, as with that earlier example of being I'm not the first podcaster. Well, then I just asked them like, how do you get started? What do you do first? What do you do second? How do I know I'm doing well? That's basically a learning tool. It's a professional learning tool. And so make it applicable to your career journey and ask those questions. Some of them might be Googleable, but it's hearing from someone's real lived experience, even information that you can find online, makes it more helpful to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely someone I can Google how to start a podcast, but to see someone actually do it and share their own individual experience doing it is really helpful. And so that's where it's really helped the career readiness. I'm using, for my example, I want to be a leader or I don't want to be a director one day, but I do ask about what are the leadership roles of a career services director, right? I ask those questions to,
I wish I could take this whole bit and clip it and send it out to all of our students, right? It's, I think that's so valuable to help them understand. It's something that our career departments at our university should be doing to connect with students and help them know, what next step do you take? How do you bridge that gap into the career readiness space?
Do this. I always say when I used to meet with people, I used to do more student facing stuff. I used to tell them, like, come to see me ain't going to help you figure out what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Right. Because I don't even know what the heck I'm going to do for the rest of my life, right? I think the best thing that information gives you is at least the most information to make the best decisions for the next step. And then you get to that place and then you get to another fork in the road. And then you gather as much information and you just make a decision. And the thing is, decision fatigue and all that, like you're going to get the fork in the road. And I'll be honest with you, not one way or the other is going to be perfect. Like you're always going to think of like, I could have done left and right, but at least I could say I made the most informed decision. And that's just all it is. And so when I do mentorship too, I'm saying like, we're not going to solve your whole trajectory, your whole career. We're just trying to gather the most information to make the best next step decision, right? Like, okay, I'm going to go to grad school, make this decision, going or not, right? Then you're in grad school. You're like, all right, do I even want to use this to go to this occupation? No. And you just keep on doing it. Then while you're in it, like, I don't even like this job that I got. I need to make another decision and be a career switcher. Let's gather information and be a career switcher. And you just keep on making decisions throughout your whole life. until and you just don't live with regrets because there's no regrets when you just said I made the best decisions with the information I got and the
Right.
resources that I have.
I think this is so valuable to hear you saying this, especially from your perspective where you're meeting with hundreds of students, thousands of students, faculty and staff, and you hear these stories from the students, right? I think that we often hear how stressed out they are, especially in today's landscape for career readiness. It's very competitive.
Yeah.
We're hearing. I taught 12th grade for a long time, and teaching 12th graders, the pressure on those students right before they even entered undergrad to know what they
Yes.
want to do with their entire life at 17, 18 years old. It's unbelievable. And then again, the transition into graduate education, where students still sometimes are unsure where they want to go, right? Or in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, they're still unsure. So it's so helpful to have that framing, Philip, and just to keep that in mind.
It's paradox. I think career readiness is paradoxical, meaning that, you know, uh, confidence comes with preparation, right? And that, if you have a plan, it's really good. I have a plan. I'm not saying just go with the flow and float through life, but also understand like embrace chaos and happenstance too. Just saying like, all right, I just want to be really sharp and confident and prepared for this immediacy, and
Mhm.
then just understand like then experience teaches you, right? I think there's this really big theory called the design theory of career, where like it incorporates, like, think about yourself like a mad scientist, where you use experiences to prototype and say, what do you like about this, what I don't like about it, and then make new decisions. And you kind of do that, but like a scientist, right, you still have to like be thoughtful and evaluate and be organized. You still got to be organized,
Yeah. Yeah.
but he also is like how do you be agile and flexible and organized, right? It's a very paradoxical thought, but it does make sense, right? And so I think career readiness is that way because we also know that like the world of work is changing like
Mhm.
rapidly, right? With technology and AI, that there's things and jobs and occupations that are not even in existence yet, right? Like, like certain things that you thought you would do now are going to be like maybe obsolete. Doesn't mean you as a human being, but maybe that particular job function, right? And so if you had this one-sided, one identity career-wise, like I'm only like an accountant, I'm only this, then you're not living yourself open to the pivoting of future emerging careers. So I would say like I'm gonna be the best accountant while I'm an accountant, but I'm also gonna have tools and skills, professional tools and skills that allow me to jump into different spaces if I need to be or need to.
Mm.
And mentorship helps that because as you pivot to different spaces, you can get to someone that's in that space and ask them the best way to transition into what they're doing.
So I'd love to talk more about your experience in supporting folks finding a career pathway for themselves. And alumni often serve as these key connectors between institutions and employers. And I'm wondering if you could talk more about how universities could leverage alumni mentorship programs to strengthen employer
Yeah.
relationships.
Well, I think it goes back
Especially,
to one is that, I know my role has completely shifted from student facing to employer facing, but I want to integrate the employers. Like most of our employers in the DMV are alum. So they're also my in to get career connections. I like to say that in my role, I'm an employer engagement consultant. I'm not a job placement office. I'm the point guard. I'm the liaison between the university and external employers. But most times, the best external employers concurrently are alum. They love to give back and provide internship opportunities. And so what we try to do is make sure that a lot of our career programming incorporates some form of alum in there. So like give you an example, uh, we do site visits, like employer, like we take a group of students to the actual physical building of a place, right? I usually ask before we go, is there any alum at your organization that can like, while we're taking a tour, can stop and introduce themselves to the students or do like a little mini panel there. So really try to find ways to incorporate, or let's say we're having a career fair, instead of sending back your HR person, which is great, send back your alum from that organization to
right?
staff the table. And then we actually give them a name badge that says, their name badge with a ribbon that says alum. So that alum should be incorporated in all our employer engagement. Like when we have a panel, a career panel, I reach out to my employers in my network and say, hey, we're doing a career panel on, let's say, IT jobs. Can you send back one of your alum at your organization to speak to this topic? And so it kills two birds with one stone. And then just like you're doing with this, we hope that students take advantage of coming to these events and not only just do the generic resumes and cover letters, but they get the LinkedIn, and then they still build a real authentic offline engagement with that alum. And because I think another thing too is that a lot of times, I can see on my part when people ask me, you're an alum, like I'm an alum, can you get me a job? I feel bad. Like I can't get you no job. Like I don't have that authority. I'm not the hiring manager. But if they like say, can they come to me and ask about stuff? It's really, it gives you empowerment as on that side. And I think the same way for these alum that come to those tables for the fair, if you're not just going to them and asking about like the jobs at the organization, but just, hey, can I ask you about how you got to that organization? They can say, yeah, I can tell you my journey, and they can talk about that without feeling like they let that person down. They still help that person. And so I think, that would be the space where incorporating that. And I do also love that, I was familiar with your mentorship collective, is that I love the partnerships that you do with certain alumni chapters, like James Madison's Black Alumni has that. And I did find one of my mentees on that platform. And so that's just a great way where the alumni chapters can really have a space to help out the university
Right.
with the mentorship collective platform per identity group chapters. I think that's probably better than just a like very macro, is more so like a individual space that houses it to really be the point guard. Like I definitely love giving back to James Madison Black alum, and not to be no shade. I'll help and mentor all my mentees of all identities, but it's also helpful to give back to like students that share the same identity. And I wrote an article about that, right? That we should have mentees of shared identities and different identities for various reasons. And there's different ways that fulfills you as a mentor, to have someone that looks like you and someone that don't, you know what I'm saying? So
For
I'm
sure.
not
Well,
saying like
especially in
I
industries
only
that
mentor Black students. I love to mentor everybody, but there's also something very special about looking almost like in a mirror of the past of myself and doing that too.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Especially, in industries where Black professionals are underrepresented, or or even, you're saying with having GMU alumni show up, and showing that that representation is so important, right? Like you can do this, you can be here. This is our
Yeah.
story. I think that's so critical. Yeah, let's transition now to talk more about strategic impact. I'd love to hear you chat more about the vision for the future, Philip. So we've heard some really good strategies here from you today, some great conversation. What is your vision for the future of alumni mentorship, and how do you see mentorship evolving to support the changing needs of students and career professionals as we go into some uncharted territory with the new jobs that might be out there?
Yeah, and this is a good resource. I just came to mind. It's an article. If you look it up, "Career Ecosystem" by Jeremy Podnine. If you type in Jeremy Pod NAY, his article comes up. And the reason why I share that is called the career ecosystem is because career services is changing over time. At first it used to be the career center was the gatekeeper of career development. Now we're knowing that like the responsibility of career development is like going beyond the walls of the career center. Like alumni are getting in that space and doing career stuff and hosting events and connecting and mentorship. Individual departments are doing it. Students, peer-to-peer students are doing it. Like for instance, like NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers, the students here are inviting their own and doing their own career panels where they invite NSBE alum back. And so the point of that is that we're all involved in this, and understanding that no one's the gatekeeper of this career development, or no one, that we're all responsible for it, does really make sure that that is also a responsibility of the alumni sector. So if you're an alumni of a certain university, like I'm just going to say, like if you're the alumni association president, right, and you're doing your strategic plan about like as an alumni association, We want to make sure we raise this much money, yada, yada. I would say right now, you would have to, in this space and time, have to incorporate how do we actually help students currently as a organization, as an alumni association, and like maybe task, your board or whatever to say like, hey, we're going to make sure that we are available to go to these events like the alumni student mixer, or definitely all of us reach out to our prospective professors or departments and see if we can do a classroom visit or whatever. Because now it's like kind of like a responsibility that everyone has. And I think the mentorship part is like, it doesn't always have to be so formal. Just being in the space as an alum will open the door for mentorship. Now, formalized one helps create structure, accountability. Platforms like yours has notes and reminders and stuff like that. And so I definitely don't want to downgrade formalized, organized mentorship, but I also want to express that it happens organically just by being present or being around. And so in regards to impact, I just see it like everyone's going to be on hands on deck, and we're going to see the scale of alumni being involved in career development increase. They're going to be just as integral to our events. Like, as I said earlier, we've been tracking it, and we see like the percentage of alum that are sent back for the career fair is like increasing. Ideally, knock on wood, hopefully this alumni student mixer has more alum participation than last year. And just so I think it's going to scale up, alumni involvement in the career development is going to scale up because this ecosystem is going to be real. Like, it's not going to just be the responsibility of the Career Center to make sure that our students are career ready. It's going to be like everyone, all these different touch points are going to be involved in this.
I love that you're saying too, it's kind of a reframe of what mentorship is or what it could be, in considering how the landscape might be evolving. We could also reconsider what mentorship means, right? So mentorship could be formalized, could be structured, it could also be in microbursts where, even just a one-off conversation with a leader, or showing up at that mixer and that conversation that you have with an alum, or or attending a webinar, or with an IT professional, or any of the examples that you had provided. All those are kind of instances of mentorship, instead of a more long-term kind of traditional approach. So it's great to have that mindset to kind of reframe what mentorship is and how it could support alumni as we grow into the future.
Yes, I love it.
Love it. Philip, thank you so much. This was absolutely fantastic. Do you have any closing remarks that you want to add? Any last thoughts that we should be keeping in mind as we're thinking about all things mentorship, alumni, all of these good things?
I don't know. One, I just want to say shout out to the good brothers Alpha. I see one gentleman here, so I gotta say 06 to the good brothers here today. But also like I said, like, reach one, is it reach one? No, teach one, reach one. Like, I think about it like all the time. Like, I wake up every day, I'm like, dang, I'm 40 years old. Like, how did this happen to me? Now I'm like, I'm the uncle status, right? And like, now it's like I'm living the experiences of the people that mentored me. And it's crazy to think about it, right? It humanizes them. And so for those out there putting people that are above you on a pedestal, it's almost now like, still, like I said, once again, show deference and respect, be polite. Thank you. Each one, I always mess up things. I be messing up quotes like crazy. But I think what I try to say is humanize people. You can still humanize people and be respectful, because like, I look up to these people, my Holbrooks, my dad, but now I'm like, oh, now I'm the Holbrook. I'm my dad. I'm the mentor now. And they were just trying to help. They were like my age. They were in their 30s and 40s, just helping people. And they didn't think about the gravity of their impact. It's crazy. I go back and I stay in touch. I went to Holbrook's 50th birthday party, and he walked me around, was like, this is one of my students from high school. He's getting his PhD, and he was just so proud. And now I'm like, I'm feeling that. Like, when I see these young alum come back for homecoming, I'm like, oh, man, you're doing big things. And they always say, oh, you helped me so much. And I was like, I didn't do nothing. All I did was just say yes. I just made myself available. I was kind. I listened. I gave you my unsolicited advice and you took it or didn't take it, but I wasn't doing anything special. I was just being myself. And so I want that to be a lesson for both sides. Like for the mentees, reach out to people, be respectful, but understand that like people really on the opposite end love to be feel like they're helpful. It makes them feel good. It's altruism, right? And
Mhm.
then on the other end, for mentors or people considering being a mentor, don't think that you got to solve the world's problems or have all the answers or be perfect. Just being present and trying to be helpful makes a great impact, because then you'll snap one day and then you'll wake up and like I said, people invite you to their weddings and all that stuff. And you're like, I don't think I did anything that crazy. I was just trying to be nice. And don't minimize it, but I literally always am surprised. I'm like, okay, I was just responsive or available or
You were
try to be
present.
helpful
You were present.
or be
Yeah.
myself. And so just be yourself, be genuine. I think the main thread to throughout all that, I think you know about this kindness, just being kind is the unified theme. Like just being a kind person on both ends goes a long way.
Philip, thank you so much. This was fantastic. As always, it's such a delight to chat with you. I always end up with a big smile just because what you're saying is so inspiring. I'm taking it to heart. I'm like, oh, I have to tell everybody I know what he said earlier. So thank you so much. It's so valuable, and just thank you. All right, folks, I am just so grateful for your time. Thanks for joining us here today. And we'll hopefully catch you at either an event in March or we'll see you at the third event in April. So thank you very much. Have a great day, and I'll see you down the road.